it's almost like a war. It's almost like a woman versus man war. And if you don't, again, fit this criteria, and it's like, yo, that's not realistic. Because you
It's not.
said something about submitting, but there's a lot of women that literally disrespect men, derail.
More than just a barber. Time to show
Placed him
Mm-hmm.
over my life, over our family,
Mm-hmm.
and allow him to lead in those ways, he thrives. And I get the overflow. And he's constantly watering me and
I like it.
encouraging me.
I
And
like
then
it.
I thrive, you know?
How hard was it to just kind of take that step
So
back?
hard. So hard. Because like I said, I was the head of my household. I was independent. I provided for myself. I was in charge of my kids. I knew the trajectory of how I wanted to raise them, the environment I wanted to live in. And so, one of the first acts I remember of like freaking out was we got married and John was like, hey, I think that we should sell your car and then you drive my car. He had a much nicer car than me, but he's like, you drive my car and then I'll just get a cash car. So that way we have one car payment. We don't have two car payments. And the intentions were great, but I'm like, oh, he's going to sell my car. What if it doesn't work out? He's going to take the car back and I'm not going to have a car and I can't provide for my kids. Like, I freaked out. I could not. And that goes into the growth and wisdom later on where, what are you afraid of? Like, do you not trust that even if this all goes wrong, that God's going to take care of you? Even if this all goes wrong and he does take his car away, like, you don't think God's going to bring you a
Yeah,
car,
yeah.
And so ultimately, where the root of my perspective of is he or she the one goes to, do you trust and are you willing to submit to who God brings in your life?
Okay. So what I asked a person about this submission piece, and
That's a 4-letter word to women.
yeah, like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
a cuss word for sure. And
Yeah.
so for me, I'm like, when I hear the word submission in today's culture, it really ruffles a lot of feathers.
Yeah, it does.
And I'm trying to figure out, when I hear successful marriages, even around our age, a little younger, a little older,
Yeah.
whatever, when I hear these successful relationships, that woman, 9 times out of 10, she submits to her husband. I ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
A lot of questions. She submits to her husband. So why is it that the world, or even just the conversations that we have today, why is it that it's hard for women to submit to a man, even if she makes more money than him?
Because one, money has nothing to do with it. And secondly, because men historically have abused their power, abused their role over their homes and over their wives.
Okay.
And so, John and I struggle with that too. Like, he was very financially abusive at the beginning of our marriage. If he would get mad at me, all of a sudden, like, my cards weren't working, and he's like, well, we got in a fight, and I don't want to take, because of his past.
Sure.
His ex, took everything he had at one point, cleared
Yeah.
out the banks, cleared out the closets,
Yeah.
So from his past, that's what developed was financial abuse.
Yeah.
And so many other things. But so we even dealt with that, where his role over me was misuse of the role that he was given.
Yeah.
And so I feel like historically that it has been abused, that role. And so women kind of cower to submission. They prefer, we're partners. I'm your equal. And that is true. It is true that the
like
word
it.
tells us that, we submit to one another. The wife submit to your husband, respect your husband, the husbands love your wife. But it does also say that, we submit to one another. And I think that it's so important to know that it also goes on to say, like, unto the Lord. So, like, I think that a lot of that goes back to, if the husband is treating his wife as he was designed to, like, God doesn't wield money over his church. He doesn't wield power over his people. He doesn't
Yeah.
withhold things. He's not
Yeah.
angry. He's not rude. And that's how our husbands are to treat us as their bride. And so under those circumstances, I can trust that person to submit to them. I know they're not going to lead me astray. They're not going to withhold anything from me, you know. And but I think women have a difficult time submitting because that is not the example that we've seen
So do you allow?
historically.
And I like that. I like that because I think control has a major part to do with it. This is my money, or this is my, materialistic things is huge, right? So this is my stuff.
Right.
You don't have no assets or whatever. I brought this to the marriage, whatever that looks like. But I guess for me, the hard time that I have is that women no longer want to submit, especially when it comes to the materialistic things. I don't think that that's realistic. I think it's superficial.
Yeah.
And it's causing, it's almost like a war. It's almost like a woman versus man war. And if you don't, again, fit this criteria, and it's like, yo, that's not realistic. Because you
It's
said
not.
something about submitting, but there's a lot of women that literally disrespect men, derail just the total being of who we are as a man.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to figure out, is that anger? Is that disappointment? Or did nobody chose you, so you're hating on the person that actually got chose, and they got chose because maybe they decided to submit or give that person the opportunity to blossom.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I struggle with that so much that, and I think that finances is just kind of something everybody can relate to.
Yeah, for sure.
In regard to submission. So, I got so sick of the control in that way that I was like, I'm gonna go get a job and like make my own money. And we
Yeah.
had 4 kids, and
Yeah.
it was like, and that was a total act of disobedience, like doing
Right.
that. That is not what God called me to do. But I was like gonna stick it to Him and do it. And got a job, my own bank account, and the money's gonna go straight in my bank account. He couldn't tell me what to do anymore. And ultimately it went back to a decision of like, I just 2 wrongs don't make a right type of thing. Like just because he is, wielding his power doesn't give you permission to kind of like stick it to him or go into self-protection mode. Because again, it's like, where is my trust in the Lord? Like, where is my foundation at that point? But there's been certain situations with just the way we run our home. Like John prefers, with our kids, for example, he's very kind of militant, like come home, have a snack, you can rest for like 1 minute and then do homework and do chores.
Yeah.
And I'm so laid back, like, how was your day? Like, take all the time you need,
Yeah.
like rush to do
Yeah.
homework,
Yeah.
and he's like, I'm not having that. And so that was something I had to submit to, and come in alignment with, because I want more than anything, what's more important than my pride is my children's joy. And so I want them to see mommy and daddy are united, that we are a team. Oftentimes, I don't agree with what he wants for us or wants us to do. But is my pride and being right more important than my children seeing that mommy loves and respects daddy and what daddy says goes? And I noticed that with my oldest daughter, she was 8 when John and I first met. So she witnessed and was aware of a lot of things. And there was a situation where like John was saying something that was kind of crazy and I didn't really agree with it. And her and I were like making these side eyes and all this stuff. And John saw it and lost it, right? And I was like, oh no. So I had to, instead of me saying like he's wrong or blah, 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 I really had to think like, she's getting that from me. She sees me disagree and like roll my eyes and when he acts that way. And so she's getting that from me. So I had to have a conversation with her and say, I was wrong. I'm wrong for doing that. I'm wrong for disrespecting him. I'm wrong for disagreeing with him in front of you guys. That's not okay. And so, and I'm sorry that I was a bad example to you. And so moving forward, we have to respect him and honor him. He's the head of our home. He loves us, protects us, provides for us. He works very hard to do that. And we have to respect him. And she was like, okay, And so that is something, it wasn't simple, it was really hard. My pride was really hard. But that was something I needed to do, to submit to him in that way, because my kids are going to follow that example.
Right. Right. So it's
Same.
yeah,
Vice
and
versa.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. I don't want to
I was
cut
just
you
going
off.
to say vice versa with him and our son, the way my sons treat me. If they see daddy being mean to me or disagreeing with me in front of them
Sure.
or not honoring how I feel, we noticed my sons have started to not listen to mommy,
Wow.
not honor how I feel.
Got you.
And he had to have a similar conversation with our sons and like, you will respect her. You will listen to her. What and then, it lined up, but we each had to, there was work to be done
I
in order
understand.
for that to happen. Yeah.
I understand. And it sounds like you all have found, because it's 9 years.
Yeah.
It sounds like you guys have found your particular rhythm, especially with, the phases of marriage. There's a rhythm to marriage. There's phases of marriage. And I'm imagining that you guys found your particular rhythm, especially coming together, the way that you did. Because for me, I love marriage. I love to see it. I love to see men thrive in their home, thrive in their marriage, in their business, whatever they got go. I love to see it. But what I don't like is that you have now, it's like the roles have reversed. Quite frankly, a lot of people, a lot of women in particular, are getting into the bag.
Yeah.
Y'all making bread.
Yes.
And technically, from a certain standpoint, y'all don't need a man, technically. However, there are some things that you do need a man to do that you just cannot do, which is the way God designed it.
Yeah.
But I think that the illusion and the misconception is that because I'm in a certain bracket or because I have a level of accomplishments, I don't need no man. And the first time he does something that she don't like, she gone.
Yeah.
And her career, her business, that's her husband. So you got a lot of women married to their business, their career, and there's no room for this man to even come in. And he could be the one.
And I think that you leave yourself in a position to stay exactly where you are and who you are and never grow, because marriage is a tool that God used to sanctify us, to grow us, to change us, to make us more like him ultimately, but more mature, wiser, more patient. You'll learn that a lot.
Like a long list of
in
it
marriage.
all.
There's so many things.
Yeah.
All of the love is, all of the fruits of the spirits.
Yeah.
God uses marriage to grow those in you. And so it's a tool. And so if you have filled your life so much where you believe that you don't need a person to provide you any of those things, that may be true, but then you are not allowing yourself to grow into who you were designed to be. You're choosing to stay here because you're comfortable with these things, or you're comfortable with providing for yourself, or being your own God is ultimately what you're saying.
Sure.
And so,
Yeah.
and that's a really, really hard thing to do, because the sanctification doesn't come when something goes wrong and you leave, you tried it. The sanctification comes when it goes wrong and it may not have gotten better, but you're staying. Because I'm staying and I'm learning wisdom and patience to shut my mouth. Or when to speak, but how to say it.
Yeah.
And I would not have learned, those things would not have blossomed in me at all had I not been married to John Kang.
So let me ask you this, because you said that you were independent. You had your own stuff. Like, you didn't need a man from that perspective.
Right.
Was
the
it
bills got paid late, but they got paid. They got paid.
like a little grace period?
So-
Right, right. So you're saying that, you know, it was a shift for you personally that, like, I had to give up because I was independent. I had my stuff. I had this. That I'm imagining that had to be tough. And I know you kind of shared, but let's look at it from this perspective. Like, did you feel like this is the moment that, my prayer's been answered, but was it a tug of war? Like, I'm still independent. Like, but here's what my blessing is over here, which is my husband. Like, was that a tug of war for you?
Yes, it was a tug of war for probably the first 4 or 5 years of our marriage. And it was just because I didn't fully, keep in mind, I didn't know him when we got married. We just met 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So we're not only newlyweds, but we're getting to know each other
Yeah.
at the same time.
Right.
And so I found a lot about him I did not like.
Mm-hmm.
He found a lot of things about me he did not like.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him telling me one time, like, and I know this was hurtful, but I'm glad he said it, because he said, like, no wonder none of your relationships have worked out.
Wow.
You are really hard to love. Meaning,
Well, yeah, walk me through that.
meaning he meant don't let people love me easily. I feel like I've always held men to a certain standard. I'm not, like, my child's father, for example, like, you're going to grow up. These are the responsibilities. We have to be X, Y, and Z type of parents, right? I'm not going to be lucid in that regard. So for our relationship, I was very sure, like, I'm not going to be the spiritual head of our household. So you are going to lead us spiritually. If we go to church that day, it's because you're getting your family up. You are setting the precedence. I'm not doing Bible study with our kids. That is your job. You are supposed to be the spiritual head of our household. And so I have tried to stay in my lane in those regards. And sometimes, some seasons in our marriage I've been kind of hypocritical in that way, because I'll, like, try to take charge of other areas, but, like, refuse to take charge in some areas that are his roles, but like, admittedly so. But can you remind me what you're asking?
Yeah, so I'm saying, no, you're good. So I'm saying that, when it comes to the role that you guys had, during that time, but you came in fully independent.
Yeah.
But you said it took you 4 years to kind of, like, really learn how to, allow him to love you.
Right. And so this is where that came from. It actually was, was like, I want to have a successful marriage. I love him. I want to have this for my kids, a legacy for my kids, that they have parents that love them or together, and so that was kind of just like a worldly resolve. But then, I learned, the scales, if you will, were removed from my eyes about how dishonorable of a wife I was to the eyes of the Lord.
Wow.
And that broke my heart more than anything.
Yeah.
I, at that time, didn't really care as much as I probably should have of what John viewed me as a wife and how difficult I may have been. But I had realized, looking back, had I took seriously the call of a wife, the commission of a wife, and just as a believer, for example, 100% of our conflicts could have been avoided. 100% of them. Had I.
So you're blaming yourself for not being in a certain space. That's why the conflict in the...
I'm not saying blaming. I'm just taking responsibility for my part.
Okay.
I think that when we enter a marriage and we think that this is my role and this is your role, and you're not thinking about, how am I serving this person? How am I serving this person? That's how it works. I'm not worried about me, my needs. I'm worried about them and their needs. How does he thrive? How can I help him? So, for example, in the Bible, it talks about the wife is the helper, right?
Yeah.
In Hebrew, I believe it's the same word that God uses to describe the Holy Spirit
Okay.
to God, the Father. The Holy Spirit is his helper.
Yeah.
So one and
Yeah.
the same,
Yeah.
same authority, but is utilized in a different way. And so I was trying to be God in a lot
Yeah.
of places
Yeah.
and not the Holy Spirit, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's who I was designed to be, the
I see.
helper.
I
I was
see.
designed to be the helper. So I stopped, my mentality shifted, my heart shifted, I would say, in the way where instead of worrying about my feelings and my needs being met and me being happy and what I need to feel good and what
Right.
I need to succeed,
Right.
my mentality shifted is, what does he need to thrive? What does he need in his every day to have a successful day?
That's good. That's good.
What does he need to hear from me? How does he need to hear it? What does the response of our children need to be to him? In very practical ways, he needs cold monsters in the fridge to have a good start to his day. And so I make sure, I try, Lord knows I try to remember, to make sure his monsters are in the fridge if they get taken out, that they're replaced. That's a very practical thing.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. You said that John said that it was very hard to love you in a certain season. What was the thing that changed that whole dynamic for your marriage in that particular way? Because he said it.
Yeah. Because I stopped telling him how to love me, because clearly I didn't know what I needed.
Wow.
And I started letting him love me
Wow.
the way he was designed to love, because that is really what I needed. He's very straightforward with me. He does not sugarcoat it. He checks me a lot. Like, he'll say, I'm surprised you have friends, because the way that you say things or just talk to people, it's like, I would be so offended if you said that to me and you
Yeah.
didn't, and of course I don't talk to people that way if I don't have a relationship with them, but he doesn't know who I'm talking to. Like, if on the phone, he goes, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
we would not, how do you have friends?
Yeah.
And so, I've never had anybody just be that real with me. One time, we weren't, married yet. I think we were engaged, but we were having kind of like a debate about my past and a recent dating past and all this stuff. And he was really upset about it. And, he's like, how do I know you love me? How do I know, like, I am the one based on, like, your past? Like, am I just your vomit? The scripture talks about a dog returning to its vomit,
Yeah.
right? Am I just that for you?
Yeah.
And I was like, no one has ever asked. People were just like happy that they're with me. You know what I mean? That's kind of just been my history. And so until they got tired of me like calling them on their bull, but like he was like challenging my commitment, I guess, challenging my decision to be with him. Is it for real? Or am I just a filler?
I got you.
And I've never had anybody be so real with me. He does not cut corners. He's in and out, black or white.
Yeah.
And that has grown me so much.
I love that. You said something that sparked this next question. And this is something that we have several conversations in the barbershop, particularly here at the shop. And I've been asking abroad as well. And you said something where you're like, you should be happy that you're with me. So now the question is, and I know those that are watching, and you can comment in the comment section, is the man the prize or the woman the prize? When it comes to the relationship, is it the man that's the prize or is it the woman? Can't be both.
It cannot be both.
Some gonna say before you answer, they're gonna try to give it to me. You tripping, blah blah blah. I have this conversation all the time. I ask this question all the time. So who's the prize?
I struggle with that. So I say that the woman is supposed to be the prize.
Okay, tell me why the woman is supposed to be there.
The woman's supposed to be the prize. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I'm listening.
Okay, the woman is supposed to be the prize because
Supposed to or is the
I'm
prize?
going to say they're supposed to be the prize because, Scripture tells us that you who find a wife finds a good thing. The wife will make do with whoever, but I feel like I struggle with answering that because my husband is such a gift to me. He is such a prize for me.
Do y'all hear that? She just answered my own question. So do me a favor. Do me a favor. Make sure in the comments you answer this question so that we can, in fact, ask and answer the question as well. Because I want to know. I want to hear from in the comments from our audience and as well. I'm listening. You said, however.
I do not believe my husband would be who he is today. But it's the same. Without me, I wouldn't be who I am today without him.
There's so much I got to say.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'm listening.
But I feel like I am the prize.
So basically, you're saying it without saying it.
Yes.
Both of you guys are the prize.
Yeah.
Your husband has been the greatest gift,
Yes.
which is a prize.
Yes.
Right? But you're saying that you are the prize.
Yes. And my in-laws tell me all the time, thank you so much for loving our brother. Thank you so much for loving our brother. Like, we know him. Thank you so much for loving him. Because, he is just grown into an incredible dad.
Amazing. Yeah.
Incredible husband, incredible brother, And not to say that is because of me, but God for sure used me. And used him too for me. So
I'm just sad to say, because I hear your answer, that the man is the prize. So if you're watching this, I do want you to know, this is just a pause, that the man is the prize.
To the woman. The woman is the prize.
You think so?
To the man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a part 2, of course.
Okay, yes.
Right? But I will say that when it comes to, again, there's this war. I believe that the man is the prize. And here's why. I heard this on some type of reel, and I tested it out, and it's true. The woman is responsible for sex, and the man is responsible for the relationship. In other words, women control sex, men control the relationship. I
wish that was true.
It's the truth. It's the truth. I promise you. You guys are in control of that, and we are in control of relationships. In other words, if that man, let me back up. If you think about it, women desire to be married. All women that are single, they want to go to prom. They have these, I want to go prom.
I would be careful with
and most women, I would say all, because you guys are wired a certain way. Even if that never happens, it doesn't mean that they didn't have a thought.
Right.
So that's why I say all.
Yes.
All women want to be married to some capacity, right? But the reality of it is this man is in control of whether or not she gets married.
Right.
Here's why.
Right.
If he don't get on one knee and offer you this ring, you're not going to get married.
But now you have women proposing to men these days.
But the reality, and I don't want to touch on that because I don't want to get shadow banned or whatever. I can say a whole lot about that, right? But from a traditional relationship, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That man is in control of it.
Yeah.
And without that man, right?
Yeah.
You guys won't get married.
Right.
Now, I hear it. Yeah, we can make your babies and all this other stuff that y'all say, or we have y'all children, whatever. But at the end of the day, it takes a man.
Yeah.
Just like if you got a flat tire, you ain't going to call no woman to come fix it.
No.
You going to call a man. So from that perspective, I feel, this is just my own opinion, that we men are the prize.
You make me think about so many things in that regard. So I can support that in this way, how Boaz was like Ruth's kind of rescuer, prize, right? How Joseph was Mary's prize. Right?
Needed a man.
He took her in, he married her, he provided for her, he was her safety. So I can support that in that way. But I feel like that's how it should be. I feel like
That the man should be the prize,
God
right?
wants men to be that, where a woman is like, you
Exactly.
are my prize.
But
and I'm thankful. I feel that with my husband now.
yeah.
But it took a lot of work to get to that point.
But a lot of women will argue me down right
Yes,
now.
they will. And I was tempted to.
And that's cool. That's cool.
But
I'm here for it.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong.
I'm here for it because for so long, we as men have been derailed by the narrative, right? And there's no one holding most women accountable for what it is that they believe.
But that's intentional by the enemy.
So you think that this is a trap?
I think it's intentional plan for our society to be turned upside down
And be divided.
Women are in
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
Women are ruling. Da, da, da. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's wrong in some areas.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's designed that way because God created men to lead and protect and provide. That's his order. He's a God of order. So when our society, our world at large, flips that on its head, you will never have unity. You will never have true commitment. There will never be true. It will never live out to its true design if that's flipped on its head.
Yeah.
So I must yield
That
in
the
support of
man
that.
is
Is designed to be the prize.
There it is. Did y'all hear
Yeah.
that? I want you to see from a woman's perspective that she admitted it. I didn't guide her to the answer.
Should be the prize.
We are.
I don't know if I meet like Billy Ray on the side, a single woman on the side of the road, and he's like, like that ain't a prize.
Okay, so you're saying he's not the prize based on what? What he don't have? What he and the
I'm just saying he should be. He should be. But he's not gonna be as soon as you meet. Do you know what I mean?
Listen, let me tell you something. Right now, in this moment of us doing this podcast, me the man, I am the prize. Period. Bar none. And I'm saying that respectfully. There's a lot of single guys that are my friends that feel the exact same way.
And I think that's awesome.
But there's a but coming.
I think that's awesome. And I hope that there are women who are fitting that come into their lives where they are like, yes, you are the prize. Because I feel like oftentimes there's always a mismatch of coupling where the man is the prize, and then you end up being matched with someone who feeds that lordship almost, right? Instead of like, I'm so thankful for you, like this is how blah 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 blah. And then the opposite side in my case, where I was like, I am the prize, like you're lucky to be with me.
Exactly.
And then I attracted men. I was coupled with men who fed off of me and used me or whatever.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
I love it. So we'll stick a pin there because I know I'm gonna do a part 2 with you and John. But as we close out, to the person that heard your story and heard how you have blossomed into this incredible wife, incredible mother, they may have 2 children. They may be in a relationship where they have 1 or no children. Whatever the case is, they could be even in a relationship that they met this person and they feel like he is the one.
Yeah.
Right? Can you close out and tell them that are viewing today what's something that they can take from this message and say, yo, I'm going to apply this to the relationship that I'm in?
Yes. Do not wait. Commit today. You will not regret it.
There you have it.
That's it.
My homie, my friend, my sister, Cassie, she just gave you the game. Don't wait, commit, because he could possibly be the one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But there you have it. This has been another episode of More Than a Barber. I am so grateful that you tuned in today. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in, being a part of this community. Let's go.